This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Come on, come on. We call it the place to be. The place to be, yes. It's the place to be. Then I shall be.
It is contagious. It is the place to be, and we are live each and every Monday.
Do you actually need a camera for tout, or is it like part of the program?
Yeah, I like Big Dick myself.
I just the man you see in the place to be. Do you listen at all when I speak on the show?
I'm not the one who thrives on whining about carriages that are 3 inches from my fucking car.
So if it's too much for you and your big cock of the walk Knights of Columbus backpack,
when does it end,
to bring
JR?
the carriage back to the fucking thing, then what do you want? What do you want?
When does it
You're
end?
making the poor guy making minimum wage while you're sitting there with our Mento going through the coffers. Party people in the place to be.
5 years. 5 years! We've been doing podcasts. And we have this. This is trash.
It's not Austin in LA. It's not Cabana in Chicago. It's not Conrad down in Alabama. Place to Be Nation presents Scott Criscolo and JT Rosero. This is the Place to Be Podcast.
To do worse than Josh Richard.
Place to Be Nation. Welcome back to the great episode of the one and only Place to Be Podcast. I am the host, Josh Rosero, coming to you live here on this Monday evening inside the PTB studios. And joining me, as always, my PIC, Mr. Scott Criscolo. Scott, how are you?
Good evening, JR. Good evening, Place to Be Nation. Welcome to episode 536 of the longest-running episodic of the fucking Golf End. We're deep in the throes of the holidays, JR. It's arguably our favorite time of the year. How you doing?
I'm well. And yes, it is. It's always, of course, one of the best weeks of the year. We always say Thanksgiving week. That'll be next week.
Yes.
Do we have a show next week, or is this it for us? Is it for us? I'll be in Florida.
You will not be here.
Oh, so. Yes. So, yeah, this will be our last show before Thanksgiving, so I guess we'll talk about it. For the first time in a while, too, Scott. No DAF festivities, but we can catch up on that on our next episode about
absolutely
where we were and what we did. But yes, it is always one of the best times of the year, one of the best months of the year, weather-wise, sports-wise, everything's going on. It's also kind of the informal kickoff to WrestleMania season, right? I mean, Survivor Series is usually like the soft launch to the WrestleMania storylines before the Rumble really kicks it off. And also, for those of us now that have been going regularly, tickets always go on sale first or second week in November. So it's really become just an exciting time of year for us.
Yes.
And we did purchase our tickets, so we'll be in the building at the Ray J in Tampa. So,
yes,
of course, looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
And also joining us in Tampa is our host, co-host tonight. She's the third person in the booth. Our Miss Elizabeth to our Mega Powers, I guess. Our Sensational Sherry to our Harlem Heat.
That's better.
The I'm not going to list all the shit you're on. Jennifer Smith.
Okay.
It's too much.
I think that should be the next.
You said co-host. I was like, wait, what?
That should be the next t-shirt.
You've been promoted. You don't have enough shows. Here's
Yay!
That should be the next T-shirt you get. No one wants to list the shit I'm on.
Just all the podcasts.
Ever.
I have too many
Except for Body Pressure Luck, you developed the only game show that I cannot participate in. So kudos for that.
Someday you may be able to.
We'll see.
Someday. I have too many co-hosts now, so I just call everyone a co-host because everyone I talk to is a co-host at this point. It's like the Italian cousins. You know, everyone's a cousin. Everyone's a co-host for me. One of my podcasts.
Paul, Marie, Peter, all the same. Anyway, Jen.
Yeah.
Felix. Oh God. Anyway, Jenny, it's good to have you. The last time you did a show with us, I mean, reviewed a show
last week.
Yeah. It was exactly 1 year of the timeline. The February '89 MSG house show.
All right. Well, pencil me in for all future Februarys.
Okay.
All right. There you go. Valentine's month. Isn't that sweet?
Mm-hmm. There you go.
There you go. Of course, we're in the building on 33rd and 7th, and it is the February 19th, 1990, from Madison Square Garden in New York City. I know in the Cindy's, JR, they are already talking WrestleMania 6. I don't know if matches were signed yet, because if at least the big one yet. I'm assuming it was, because as we talk tonight, our announcers talk about some of the undercard matches. I think one or two of them.
Yep.
So you'll obviously get into in both your reports. I'm sure the Cindy's and our good friend Herb probably has some info. But our announcers alluded to a couple of undercard matches tonight. So anyway, let's dive in. We got a lot to cover.
Okay.
The rest of the roster tonight was in two other venues. The Civic Center in Huntington, West Virginia, probably. No, that's Morgantown. I don't know who's in Huntington. It must be where Marshall plays. And the Civic Arena in Lansing, Michigan. Now, very rare for our good friend Mr. Graham Cawthon, the co-purveyor now of the history.
Go, Landy. Get the shit updated.
I know. Come on, Landy. That's why they got you. Our good friend Richard Land is now the co-purveyor with Graham Cawthon of the history of WWE.com. But Landy, look, I'm already blaming him. But Graham had no matches under these, so we just have the dates, or just have the venue. So they were at the Civic Center in Huntington, West Virginia, and the Civic Arena in Lansing, Michigan. So I pass it off to my PIC for some Cindy notes and our man Herb. What did he have going? What do they both have going on?
So Marshall University is indeed in Huntington, West Virginia.
So it must be there.
Founded in 1837, named after?
I was going to say Thurgood Marshall, but probably not.
No.
No? I don't know.
Jenny, any idea?
Jenny?
No. Mm-mm.
It is not Penny Marshall. It is John Marshall, American politician, lawyer, served as the fourth Chief Justice of the United States from 1801 to 1835. I don't think Thurgood Marshall was alive when Marshall University was founded.
I was close.
Born in 1908, died in 1993, so he was pretty.
Did the same job.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. All right. On the 2-3 Superstars, Hulk Hogan issued a challenge to the Ultimate Warrior to put his WWF title on the line with all the fallout from Saturday's main event. So that challenge was officially made, and later that day, Jake the Snake Roberts defeated Ted DiBiase via disqualification at 3:14 when the Big Boss Man attacked Jake Roberts, handcuffed him to the ring ropes, and stole back the $1 million title on behalf of DiBiase. In a Brother Love Show segment immediately after the match, Boss Man became upset when he heard that Ted DiBiase had paid Slick for the services and all of a sudden found some morals and said, "I can't be bought." So moments later, Boss Man uncuffed Roberts, returned the snake bag and the belt and Damien all back to Jake. DiBiase is turned away yet again in his quest to regain his title, and it looks like the Big Boss Man has now on the side of good, law and order, not evil. So I think a face turn was needed for him, but we'll talk more about that when we cross this path. On the 210-90 Superstars, in an update segment hosted by Mean Gene, President Jack Tunney announced that the main event of WrestleMania 6 would officially be World Champion Hulk Hogan versus Intercontinental Champion The Ultimate Warrior, and he would decide at a later date which of the two titles would be on the line. Imagine like being anxiously awaiting that to see if they'd actually do it for the IC title instead of the World title.
In the main event.
Rick Martel was a guest of the Brother Love Show and unveiled his Arrogance cologne can, calling it the official fragrance of the 90s. On 217 Superstars was a WrestleMania 6 report featuring the announcement of the following matches for the show. Dusty Rhodes and Sapphire taking on Randy Savage and Sensational Sherry. Demolition challenging Andre the Giant and Haku for the tag team titles. Looks like the Bushwhackers are out of luck. And Roddy Piper taking on Bad News Brown. So those are the first matches announced on 217. And in that episode, Slick and Akeem were guests on the Brother Love Show discussing what Boss Man had done. Akeem said he would pay for what he did to Slick. DiBiase and Virgil interrupted the segment, saying Slick and Akeem would benefit greatly if they took out the Boss Man, and Virgil handed them some cash. So looks like the Twin Towers are set to officially explode very soon. All right, Herb Kunze notes. We have 3 reports we're going to cover tonight, so we got a lot between our 2 shows. February 1st, 1990. Word is strong that Iron Mike Tyson will be a part of WrestleMania 6 on April 1st in Toronto, but the question is, will Mike repeat his role as referee or actually don the tights? For those unaware, Tyson will be the special referee for Hulk Hogan versus Randy Savage on February 23rd at Joe Louis Arena. The show will be aired live on NBC in primetime. Early rumors have Hogan, here we go. Early rumors have Hogan dropping the title to Kurt Hennig on that main event show And then the rumors switched to the Ultimate Warrior making a heel turn and taking the title. Once again, Vince has surprised everyone by throwing a wrench into the works, dubbing WrestleMania the Ultimate Challenge, which seems to indicate the main event will indeed be Hogan versus Warrior. But then again, maybe Vince has released that title to confuse us. Hogan-Tyson match would be the Ultimate Challenge in many people's books, and this is the way I see it. It's incredibly likely Iron Mike will end up taking a shot from somebody in Detroit. Of course, Iron Mike will surely want revenge, and here's a fantasy scenario. Iron Mike Tyson's refereeing abilities questioned by Vince McMahon, and co-announcer Jesse Ventura continues to say Mike has attended the body school of officiating. Vince, voicing worries of bias, prepares us for the possibility of an evil Mike Tyson. Of course, when the match comes, Tyson's officiating is beyond reproach. He even sends Savage's manager Sherry Martel away from ringside before she can interfere and cause Hogan harm. Eventually, the match gets out of control. Mike takes a few bumps. Both wrestlers actually knock him down in order to get at the other. Tyson forces himself between the two, and Savage hits him with a stray punch. Tyson having enough turns and attempts to lay a punch on Savage, who, with the speed unmatched by any of other competitors, of course, manages to dodge the blow. Hulk Hogan takes the punch on the chin. Unsure of what to do, Tyson makes the count on unconscious Hogan, and Savage does the cover and becomes a two-time world champion. In the post-match interview, Hogan quite legitimately blames Tyson for the loss. Hogan is told that he'll get a return match at Toronto or WrestleMania 6, but Hogan doesn't want to be another Tyson casualty. He wants to teach Iron Mike a lesson. Tyson's not scheduled to defend his boxing title until June 18th. Well, actually, he has to defend it first on February 11th. We all know where that goes. It says he doesn't want to fight Hogan, but he won't back down. This leaves a question of who will get the title match at WrestleMania 6. Hogan chooses his replacement in his buddy, the Ultimate Warrior. Time passes, time which we have subjected all kinds of training clips of Hogan sparring and new ways for this ultimate challenge. And whatever bizarre rules Vince decides on for this Hogan-Tyson match doesn't matter. The key match on this card is Ultimate Warrior being crowned champion to come from behind and thrash Randy Savage, causing the IC title to be vacated. It gives Vince the ability to milk some money out of a tournament card, maybe on pay-per-view. Hulk Hogan, after congratulating the Warrior, announces that just like any athlete involved in a boxing match, he needs recovery time. The culmination of excessive training and then the matchup has taken him out, and of course he disappears to have a second child and film No Holds Barred 2. How much can you stand? He's still clinging to that one. Eventually, of course, Hogan returns to WWF maybe a month after the movie is scheduled for release. He and Warrior are best buddies until the Mega Powers Meltdown Part 2. Warrior does turn on Hogan to cast him as heel, much like Savage did when he was champion, and Warrior owes his title to Hogan. Vince will not only criticize the ungratefulness, but will also replay those old clips from the Rumble and the Saturday's Main Event where they bumped heads. We should have seen this coming. We couldn't avoid it. The bottom line is Vince loves flashing back to old footage to clearly foreshadow the feuds. Who knows? Scott, any thoughts on that insane rambling from Herb Kunze about a possibility of a Hogan-Tyson WrestleMania 6 match?
That would have been an absolute fucking disaster. That was absolutely not going to happen. No, that was not going to happen. I think we're at the point now. I'm sure that Gorilla and the smarter heads, Pat and them, would have prevailed that you need to have the title on the line, unless they decided to take it off him and give it to somebody else. And
well, that's what he's saying here, right? Is to do Warrior
is to hand the belt off to somebody, and that would have been ugly. That would have been ugly. Tyson, I mean, they would have had to have him train, and I don't know. I don't think it would have worked. I think Tyson as a babyface against Savage, that would have been pretty cool, but I don't think. I think they were locked in for Dusty, obviously.
Yeah.
That would have been kind of a mess. No, yeah. I don't think that would have. I don't think that would have worked.
I mean, he says he's fantasy booking, but yeah, it's definitely interesting. Jen, if you want to,
I think Herb Kunze would fit in very nicely with our chat group, with the live chats. Just booking away. It's wonderful. Let's have it like that. I wish it would have went down like that.
You should just go in there and spin it as your own before this drops. And play it off.
Could you imagine if that was your first WrestleMania, actually?
Hogan Tyson.
Yeah.
On the February 23rd card from Detroit are the following matches. Ultimate Warrior defends his title against Tino Bravo. Andre the Giant Haku defending against Demolition. Roddy Piper against Rick Rude in a lumberjack match. Dusty Rhodes against Mr. Perfect. Jake Roberts versus Ted DiBiase. Jimmy Snuka against Bad News Brown. Brutus Beefcake and Rick Martel. Ron Garvin takes on Earthquake. Of course, not all these matches will be televised. Only 2 will make it to screen. If anyone attends, please give me a report. Although recent Saturday's Main Event may be considered a possibility of a Savage versus Rhodes match at WrestleMania 6, perhaps this will set up a Rhodes Mr. Perfect match to allow my fantasy predictions to come true. Also, I expect Demolition 2 lose to the Colossal Connection because, as I reported, the Bushwhackers have been chosen to take the straps at WrestleMania 6. Then look for Andre to retire and Heenan to manage. Any guesses?
Tyson.
Another tag team.
Another tag team. Orient Express.
The Hart Foundation, as I mentioned at the beginning of the year. So Herb is all over the fucking place headed into WrestleMania 6.
What fucking coke is he smoking?
Still clinging to the Bushwhackers. Make sure you catch DiBiase versus Jake this week. The match will be where Big Boss makes his long-awaited face turn. Barry Windham gone for good from the WWF. With his dad and brother being arrested for counterfeiting, Barry has other concerns on his mind. As I reported a while back, Candy Devine has taken the AWA Women's Belt from Wendy Richter, but this was incorrect or imprecise. Wendy vacated the belt, and Joe Blanchard decided that the top two contenders should duke it out. Candy beat Judy Martin in Toronto on December 6th.
Damn it! Fuck you, Candy Devine.
All right, and then he talks a little bit about the Clash Texas shootout, but he just kind of runs down the card. All right, 2-8. A while back, we don't have to get into that. It talks about the passing of Whipper Billy Watson that he discovered. Let's see here. And then he recaps a Toronto house show. All right. Speaking of WrestleMania 6, the press conference to announce the main event was held Monday in Toronto Skydome, and sure enough, it is the Ultimate Warrior versus Hulk Hogan. They even did a test of strength handshake. The heel role is unclear. The private interviews after the conference, the local sportscaster made a point of asking Gene what belt was on the line. He said it had not been decided. Hogan ranted about his Hulkamaniacs. Warrior talked about Hogan dropping the title. The Dome will seat 66,000 for wrestling. In 1 hour of ticket sales, 10,000 were already sold. 24,000 gone by 4 o'clock. Rumors are real strong. The main event will see the vilifying of the Ultimate Warrior, where it has him joining forces with Randy Savage to help him defeat Hogan. Perhaps Mean Gene's comments from the press conference hinted a potential title change, but he's stuck on this. He's like you with WrestleMania 2. This title change prior to WrestleMania. The question is, what face contender would Savage face in a WrestleMania 6 title defense? But the scary answer could be Dusty Rhodes. I hope these rumors are far from reality. You can rest easy, Herb. They are. Along with the Warrior Hogan main event at WrestleMania 6, the following matches are announced. Piper versus Brown, Randy Savage and Sherry versus Dusty and Sapphire. No, this is not a joke, but it will confirm that Savage will not win the title. And Andre and Haku versus Demolition. I guess that Bushwhacker rumor was unfounded. Yes, Herb.
Wow, really?
Mike Tyson's manager, Don King, has said that in the World Heavyweight Boxing Champions fee for the refereeing that card on February 23rd is close to $1 million. In an interview with the New York Daily News, King discussed the possibility of Tyson fighting Hulk Hogan in a matchup of superheroes. If Vince can come up with the money, and I'm talking $100 to $200 million, I could maybe convince Mike to do it. King does say there's a strong chance him and Vince will form a business partnership and set up a syndicated boxing TV network, which will produce and market future Mike Tyson pay-per-view fights and wrestling extravaganzas, as well as cartoons and feature-length film featuring Tyson. This sounds like hot air to me. I agree, Herb. A new organization called Pro America Wrestling in Pennsylvania has a card scheduled for February 24th that features some pretty good brand-name talent, including Abdullah the Butcher, Bam Bam Bigelow, Paul Orndorff, and Nikita Koloff. The Real Four Horsemen are back. I caught Clash of Champions 10 at a local sports bar. A well-put-together show. This sort of free show makes me wonder why I even watch the WWF. Originally, I had a summary of the card in this note, but after reading 2 reports already, I'll delete the text or blah, blah, blah. So it just kind of goes through and recaps the Clash. And finally, 2:15. Caught the AWA ESPN show this week. They finally have Sergeant Slaughter back for all the good it'll do them. The feature match was a mixed tag with Candy Devine and Baron Von Raschke against Magnificent Mimi and Colonel De Beers. Neither guy could carry the other in this match, so the women took up most of the match time. Don't get me wrong, they're not particularly good, and I don't mind watching Mimi. The match ended with Mimi scoring the pin. Rumors are very strong that this will be some kind of competition for WrestleMania this year on April 1st. Word has it the AWA champion Larry Zbyszko will meet Ric Flair, the NWA champion, on this date in an inter-federation card. Could be a title unification bout. Let's see that happening. The above rumor may well change as Zbyszko is no longer the AWA World Champion. He lost his belt this weekend before 68,000 fans to Masa Saito. That means Nikita Koloff no longer gets his title match in Rochester this Sunday. Sting is indeed injured, although official word is Sting was attacked by Ric Flair, Ole, and Arn Anderson in Birmingham this weekend. As most astute net fans have noticed, it seems like Sting did some damage to himself at the time of the Clash last week. Nonetheless, he's injured and not expected to return for 4 months, throwing a wrench into Wrestle War 90 this month. It is rumored that Lex Luger will be used as Sting's substitute. No one else could draw the crowd like Lex would, and he's the only guy worthy of the title shot on pay-per-view. And there's talk that he'll take the strap. Either way, Steve Williams gets screwed out of his U.S. title match. It is possible Williams is so pissed he doesn't get his match, he interferes and saves Flair's butt and becomes an honorary horseman, which I doubt. WWF is going to hold a card in Japan on April 13th. Vince McMahon and Giant Baba will team up on the card at Tokyo Dome, headlined by Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage. Iron Mike Tyson's boxing title loss over the weekend will not affect his commitments. He will work the February 23rd match with Hogan and Savage, but with his boxing problems, unlikely he'll get too involved in wrestling. So Herb is consistently wrong. That's one thing we can say. He's
he batted like 0 in those reports.
And again, I don't blame him. I mean, he's just right. I mean, the internet's early. He's going off these dirt sheets. I'm sure shit's just like everywhere that he's just trying to pick up the chatter, different chats and stuff. And this is just, I'm sure, a lot of misdirection going on, but whatever. It's pretty cool to look back at a very
there's no doubt.
Different time.
Absolutely.
All right.
The way you said that, the way he worded that, when he said Vince McMahon and Giant Baba will team up, I'm like, what, Vince was going to wrestle with Giant Baba?
That's exactly what I thought.
It's a dream match.
I was like, wait, what?
That would have been fucking great.
Well, someday maybe we'll get that match.
Nope.
Probably not.
Yeah. No.
Back in MSG, we are solidly on the road to WrestleMania. Gorilla Monsoon back in the house. He is with Hillbilly Jim and Bobby the Brain in the booth, and they run down tonight's card with our opening bout of Tito Santana, and our new opening match guy, I guess, here at the Garden, sadly, taking on the Playboy, Buddy Rose, who's making his MSG return after a 5-year absence. Of course, spent a lot of time pretty much all in the AWA and Portland as well. AWA, where he was tag team champions with Doug Summers. That was the bulk of his run. Speaking of bulk, he is working his faux Playboy gimmick. And Scott, this is a low-key WrestleMania 1 rematch. Same opener in the same building.
Exactly, and literally almost 5 years apart. Yeah.
So there you go. A new decade, but Tito is still here opening the card against a low-level talent. Rose is ballooned, working this Playboy gimmick. The fat shaming on commentary starts right away, of course, from all three guys. Rose makes a spectacle of taking his shirt off and posing. Gorilla talks about his past run and the evolution of his body shape. Rose runs through some calisthenics, and the fat jokes pour in. Rose gets us going with a shoulder block. Tito counters an arm drag. We get some WrestleMania 6 talk. Tito works the arm. Gorilla says half the front row is in better shape than Buddy. Jim and Bobby start sniping back and forth as Tito works the arm. Rose slings Tito to the floor. Gorilla says Bobby skims all of his clients' funds, and the only one who doesn't know it because he's dumb, basically, is Aku. Rose meanders through some back work as the match isn't clicking. Gorilla says Buddy's trying to keep Santana down and just tights up. Fucking, of all people to fat shame, Gorilla is always didn't need to be. Rose uses the slingshots to get Tito bent over his knees to wear the lower back out. Buddy goes to an abdominal stretch. Tito breaks free, and Buddy ends up tied in the ropes, allowing Tito to slug away and eventually knock him to the floor. They battle over a backslide, but it ends with Buddy going in on Tito's back again. Hillbilly says he doesn't want any vittles that Buddy eats in his body. Keep his vittles. Buddy goes up top. Tito slams him hard to the mat. Tito hammers away, whips him to the corner, gets hung in the tree of woe. Tito kicks him down, and then rings his bell in the corner. Buddy blocks a figure 4. The two collide and collapse. Tito recovers and hits a flying forearm for the win. I thought this was really sluggish and never really clicked. Rose was off, and Tito just seems to be in a malaise, which is sad to see him in this position, slogging through these openers. And I mean, and this isn't to shit on Buddy Rose, who's like, an all-time great, really, in the ring. But by this point, that's fading, and he ain't unloading the arsenal here in this opener at MSG with Tito in February of 1990. So sadly, what could have been great, 3 or 4 or 5 years earlier, ends up just kind of meandering along. So I want to star and a half, Scott, more out of respect than anything else.
I gave it a star. It was unwatchable dreck. And what was worse, the match was 16:55. I mean,
oh god,
no. And the fat shaming was actually starting to get a little uncomfortable. I mean, really, Gorilla,
especially for him. Yeah, I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, really, the guy who used to eat like 50 pastrami sandwiches at a deli in Queens before they used to wrestle at the fucking high school in 1980 or whatever. Yeah, it was not comfortable to watch, to be quite honest with you. I'm sure a 17-minute match would have been good about 5 years ago. Maybe this was the opener of WrestleMania 1. It might have actually been halfway decent, if it went this long. Is my point. But a Gorilla's like fat shaming everybody, even fat shames Andre. Like, well, when Andre was a while ago, Andre weighed 475. Now he's like fat at 520 or what? You're even fat shaming Andre? I mean, right. Jesus, Gorilla, chill the fuck out. I thought that they were a little overloaded on commentary. We didn't need Hillbilly Jim here. It was getting.
Oh,
they were,
no.
Because
I disagree with that 100%.
About 80% of the matches was Bobby trying to deflect from Hillbilly Jim's nonsense jokes and Gorilla not even paying attention to the match. If it was Gorilla and Bobby, it would have been perfectly fine. When it was Gorilla and Hillbilly, it was perfectly fine. But when you have these 3-man teams And Gorilla and Bobby are perfectly fine on their own. Hillbilly just was not doing it. And I think it was taking away from a lot of the match quality. Having said that, the match wasn't that great to begin with, but I think more storytelling would have fit if it was just Gorilla and Bobby.
So Jenny, do you think that you liked Hillbilly or you liked the three people?
Okay, I have a whole philosophy about this entire show.
I'm sorry, Scott, were you done? I didn't know she was going to go off on a tangent.
No, I was about to say, Jenny, I mean, your thoughts,
okay.
17 minutes, halfway decent opener, but I'm curious your thoughts because I just thought that Hillbilly was unnecessary for this show. I think Gorilla Bobby would have been fine.
Okay, Bobby was hilarious. They were all hilarious to me, because all the action for me, in this whole show, matches whatever. I mean, there are a couple of good matches, but it's all about the tension between the three of them in the booth. This is like an audio drama. That I was just dying listening to Bobby insulting Hillbilly, Gorilla caught in the middle. I mean, it was like a soap opera in that booth. Gorilla was trying to act like he was neutral, but then he would get onto Bobby for his snide comments, but not get onto Hillbilly for his snide comments. And it was just a bunch of bickering going on. And I thought it was delightful. I enjoyed the hell out of it. And I thought that their commentary added a lot more to this match than what it was. Like y'all said, it's not great. But when I watch matches, I think about the commentary and how it adds to it. And so I gave it 2 stars because I enjoyed all of this simmering hatred between Bobby and Hillbilly. It was delightful to listen to. The match was whatever, but all of my notes are just filled with quotes, especially from Bobby. He's just, I felt bad for you guys a lot of times going through these house shows, because in my experience in the past 2 that I've watched with you guys, it's not been that great or that much fun to watch. This was fun, especially to listen to. So that is my take on the 3-man booth.
You just want the vittles.
Yep.
Fucking Hillbilly vittles. Overloading the vittles.
Did you not laugh? I mean, was it not funny?
No, there were parts. No, there were parts that were funny, but I think this would have been a better audio drama if we were watching a syndicated show where the matches were 5 minutes. But a 16-minute match and they're paying attention to about 3.5 of it.
Well, because it sucks, man.
It doesn't work. Well, they're not supposed to acknowledge it sucks. They're supposed to acknowledge that
they indirectly
are
by not talking about it.
They're supposed to cover up the fact that it sucks, and
Well, they covered up.
Instead
they covered it up by fat shaming everybody, and then Bobby and Hillbilly dealing with their jokes.
Fat shaming didn't exist in 1990.
That's terrible.
I assure you it did. John D'Amato was in the middle of it. All right. Let's go to our next match.
But I agree with you in various circumstances that the 3-man booth would have been fine. I think in a syndicated situation where really nobody cares about the match, where it's Tito facing fucking some scrub, fine. But I don't think in a platform where technically you're supposed to act like it's easy for us to sit here and go, they should just ignore the match. It's a pile of trash. Well, in the context of that moment, they can't acknowledge that it's trash. They got to kind of at least pretend that it means something.
They did.
And there's
they did.
And there's matches later on in the show that do mean something, and they wasted too much time fucking around with each other. So I don't think it was as bad here. I think it does get worse later on. I like Hillbilly, I love Gorilla, and I love Bobby, but it should have been Gorilla and one of them, not all 3 of them. I think it took away from a lot of the activity in the ring that needed to be emphasized. That's all.
Scott.
I agree. I don't have a problem with your audio drama comparison. It just didn't fit in this setting. Maybe on a syndicated show where the matches are trash, but not here.
All I can say is you shouldn't be messing with a country boy, Scott. That's all. All right. Up next, we head back to the ring as rugged Ronnie Garvin takes on the Canadian Earthquake. Garvin is in the ring, stands steady as Earthquake ambles out in his brown attire. Solo tonight. Bobby says the RG on Garvin's towel stands for Rotary Garden Inn in Des Moines, where he stole the towels from.
That was good.
Quake shakes the ring as Bobby says he's prettier than most girls in Mudlick. Garvin starts with the hot chops, fists, and stomps on Quake's feet. Quake drops Garvin with whiffs, but whiffs on an elbow. Garvin gets a 1 count. Garvin goes to the eyes, but Quake clobbers his chest. Garvin keeps firing back, but Earthquake doesn't budge, grabbing Garvin by the neck and hoisting him in the air and then dropping him to the mat. Garvin recovers again, slugs Quake to his knee, and then puts him to his back in a fun spot. Quake kicks Garvin away and hammers on his back, but Garvin pushes him to the corner and slugs away some more. Garvin's really hanging in here. Quake slugs him back down, but whiffs on a charge to the corner, and Garvin schoolboys him. Garvin goes up top and tries a high cross body, but Quake catches him with ease and squashes him with a power slam, and then hits the Earthquake splash for the win. Quake gets 2 more after the bell, and Garvin gets stretchered out in some sort of cage, which Bobby calls a soup strainer. I don't think I've ever seen a stretcher like this before. It was like something like a shark cage or something. You would like lower in the water. It was so fucking bizarre. I'd never seen a stretcher like that. It was feisty though. I like how Garvin just kept battling and battling to make it a match and not a squash. But on the flip side, Quake probably wasn't as dominant as he should be at this point in his career. He was selling a lot for Ronnie, which is fine if you look at it in like a respect way. And Garvin's known as this great, pugilist slugger. So to me, it's kind of okay. But also on the flip side, you're like, Quake killing someone maybe makes a little bit more sense. But it was fun. Credit to Garvin, seemed credible thanks to his strikes, and Quake keeps rolling. So I went 2 stars, Jenny. Weird cage aside, I like this match.
I actually did too. I went 2 stars on it. Yeah, I expected Ronnie to kind of get his ass beat, but he held up. He did a good job until, of course, the soup strainer came to carry him off.
Draining some fucking shells or something.
I was going to ask you guys if that was like a typical piece of equipment that you would see, but
I've never seen a stretcher like that.
Yeah, that was.
You know weird. What it looked like? It looked like one of those like stretchers that like fire copters use to get people out of like burning.
Lowered down.
Yeah, like one of those. I think that's what that was. Why the fuck it's at the Garden? I have no fucking idea, but I think that's what that was. I think it was one of those ones that they like fire helicopters use to like get people out of burning buildings, like on the 900th floor and that kind of thing.
Or they used in like a mental asylum. That's what it looks like to me.
Yes, so the kind that like lobotomy patients come out. Exactly. I'm sorry, Jen. I didn't mean to interrupt. Did you have?
No, that was it.
Okay. 7:35 your match time. Love the swank brown tights. I feel like those are his house show tights. Because I feel like we only caught the cool brown tights on house shows and Cindy shows, which means partially house show, right. Off air matches. I think that's where I feel like we normally saw the brown tights.
I think they're gone by Mania. I don't think he ever wears them again. Like I think it was kind of an early thing. He wore them a bunch, like I think in that winter, but I think from Mania on, he's pretty much in the blue.
Yeah, I think we get. Is there Science Main Event or one of the house show things involving, or one of the Cindy things involving Hogan and Warrior? I know he definitely.
It's before 6. Yeah.
Brown.
Yeah, I think after he's at the blue, and then by SummerSlam he's got like the little Richter scale thing and like the little yellow explosion symbol on there.
Explosion thing, yeah. I agree with you 100%, JR. That as much as Garvin is a punching pugilist. If Earthquake's supposed to begin 1990 with what he eventually does, he really needed to like crush him. So I think he did sell a little more than he should have. Having said that, I think Earthquake got enough over to where it didn't look that bad. Clearly, after the winning feud against Greg Valentine, Garvin's pretty much fodder at this point. So this isn't the last time you'll probably see Garvin do this. Leaving the ring in a soup strainer. Let's go. So that's fine there. That's pretty much it. I mean, it's just there to get Quake over. He probably should have crushed him a little more. I thought the couple of moves at the end were really good. I think Quake puts over his power, puts over the power moves, puts over his size. I think Quake is an expert psychologist in doing that and really does a nice job of really putting over the guys that he's killing. So I thought that was fine. 1.5 nothing crazy, but a good start to the year for Quake, and it only gets better there from here for him. Brown outfit and all.
Here he comes. Here comes the Red Rooster, clucking his way to the ring. Thank God he's not fighting fucking Steve Lombardi. Jenny, were you caught up in that feud last time when you were on? I think you were. One of the 19 times they fucking fought.
With my tampon joke, yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Would he have been much cooler if he used this song?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Had it come out? No.
Not very much.
Yeah. What was that? Mid-90s, Scott? Early 90s?
Rooster, I think, was 93.
Okay, so maybe they wrote it about him.
That's entirely possible.
Someone should ask Alice or Chains.
I think it's about his dad in Vietnam or something like that.
Oh, Jenny, we don't really care. Okay, Red Rooster taking on the model, Rick Martel. The model saunters out with a new cologne atomizer. Rooster still fucking clucking around. Not much has changed about the role. The Battle of Florida Beach is here, by the way. A little fun fact for you. Cocoa Beach versus Vero Beach. So we'll see which Florida Beach comes out on top. Bobby keeps tweaking Jim as they have been jabbing all night. Bobby shits on Rooster as well, says he's limited in the ring. Martel smacks Rooster and then mocks his clucking, which I found funny. The two stand off and jaw, and Martel slaps him and then bails. Rooster chases and eats a shoulder block until they get back in the ring. Martel cranks a side headlock, works that on and off for a bit. Rooster battles free, gets a flurry of shoulder blocks, sends Martel bailing. He comes back in, gets to work on the back. Rooster comes back with another flurry and grabs an armbar. Gorilla takes jabs at the dwindling Heenan family, but Bobby promises a new member soon. Martel blocks a chicken wing, but Rooster keeps in control. Martel then turns things around and comes up empty on a charge and slams his knee into the buckle. Rooster pounces and works the leg for a bit with some wear down holds. Rooster matriculates through the holds, and then we get a cool spot where Martel tries to leapfrog, but it kills his knee when he lands, and he's shaking it. Rooster then gets back to work. He goes for a figure four, but Martel kicks him out of the ring and breaks it. Bobby and Jim chat about fried gizzard as Martel beats on Rooster on the floor and then rams his lower back to the edge of the apron. Martel batters the lower back in the ring, including an interesting quasi-chokeslam when he forces Rooster off his feet to the mat by his throat. Martel goes to an abdominal stretch, slugs him down and gets 2 feet on the ropes. Rooster gets 2 on a roll-up as Martel argues with the ref, but Model recovers of the backbreaker and goes to the Boston Crab. Rooster grabs the ropes to break that. Rooster gets a couple of flash near falls, but Martel gets to a seated chinlock, and that keeps edging on the match. Martel tries a flying forearm, but walks into a spine buster, which allows Rooster to heat up and start unloading. Rooster gets a near fall and some nice running clotheslines, but Martel blocks a dropkick into the Boston Crab, and that was it. Rooster gives up. This came really close to breaking through. Like it was on the verge of being something kind of good, but it was just too slow in spots. And it shows that Rooster could have been good if he wasn't saddled with this gimmick in this angle that went nowhere, specifically with Brooklyn Brawler, because he can go a bit here. We know that. A guy that could show up with other quality workers and put on solid matches. We just didn't get to see enough of it in the run. Martel hangs on. He keeps establishing himself in the model gimmick. It was fine, but never really crossed that line. I went 2.5, Scott.
Your match time, 21 minutes. Oof. I got a little nervous when I saw that. Yeah, I got a little nervous when I saw that.
It's surprising we went 20 and didn't do a draw. It's surprising.
Yeah, I'm very surprised too. By the way, I was actually on the nose. Rooster came out in February of '93.
There you go.
I gave this 2 stars. I liked it, and I believe JR, we might have found our first PTB T-shirt. Fucking and clucking. I like that.
There you go.
We're gonna do that. Fucking and clucking.
Fucking and clucking on the front, and here comes the Rooster on the back.
Yeah. That's right. That's gonna be a tag team that Jenny's gonna manage. Fucking and clucking. There we go.
Nation I'm Drunk is the first T-shirt, by the way.
Nation I'm Drunk is the first T-shirt. The second T-shirt is the second T-shirt will be fucking and clucking.
There you go.
Yeah, this match wasn't horrendous.
Her shirt would actually say fucking and cucking, not fucking and clucking.
What?
Someone's gonna want to get credit for that. I thought that for once Rooster. I mean, I know we all make fun of Terry Taylor incessantly, tampon head, but when it comes to brass tacks, and I'm watching him in the early '80s in Mid-South, Terry Taylor's not a bad wrestler, and when he's giving somebody something good and he actually gives a shit, he'll put on a good match, and I feel that's what we had here. Martel is no chop liver. He's a solid guy. He's really getting the model gimmick over now. The arrogance cans out. The finely coiffed mullet, and he's all in on this now. And having said that, this match showed that the guy can work with anybody. So fucking and cucking there really worked his tail off to make it a halfway decent match. And I mean, again, I gave it a 1.5 stars. I wasn't going to go too bonkers, but it wasn't as bad as when he wrestled Brawler, where he totally threw it in the tank. I think he actually wanted to work well for Martel, and I think he did. But Rooster at this point is just fodder, pretty much like Ronnie Garvin. Although Jimmy Garvin at one point had the same hair as Martel. But Ronnie Garvin and Terry Taylor, these guys now, we're starting to see that mid-card get fleshed out down the card to jobber fodder, Jenny. Tampon Head looked a little bit better, but, I mean, he's still pretty much where he is.
He's where he belongs, in my opinion. Yeah, I did 2 stars, but mostly just because I was enamored of the commentary. And this match had the slowest ref I've ever seen in my life. And they kept dogging him out, which I appreciated very much. They were paying attention to the match a lot. But yeah, it pretty much sucked. And I hate Red Rooster. That'll be another t-shirt. I hate Red Rooster.
It's a little harsh.
2 stars. Whatever.
Well, I mean, the grade is alright, but then you said it sucked. I don't know.
No fucking cucking on my watch.
It's only the commentary adds a star,
in my
opinion.
All right, we get a WrestleMania 6 promo, pushing some tickets. We get the iconic WrestleMania theme, of course, layer it in there. And that brings us to our main event of the night here in the middle of the show. Hulk Hogan teaming up with his buddy, Brutus the Baba Beefcake, taking on Mr. Perfect and the Genius. Feud rages on as Beefcake is solidly ensconced now, helping his buddy again in this battle with his duo. Genius and Perfect has developed into a hell of a pairing. Genius and his awful hair deliver a poem to Booze. Beef are decked out in a Hulk Hogan shirt as they charge out to a pop. Hogan and Beef are clean house and pose and strip each other down as the music plays. Gorilla says Genius looks like an Indian with his haircut. And Bobby says he looks like Ben Franklin, which is a little less insensitive. Hogan overpowers Perfect to start. We get reminded that Perfect is undefeated. Perfect shoots Hogan hard to the corner, slugs him to the floor. Hogan slides back in, but Perfect kicks and chops away. Hulk reverses a whip, sends Perfect outside with the boot. Beefcake rattles Perfect and Genius on the floor and then batters them both inside as we reset with him and Perfect. Brutus keeps on him, tags in Hogan, who lands in some shots. Heenan references Tyson versus Douglas, but does not mention the main event. Beaver and Hogan take turns battering Perfect as he can't get any traction. Perfect bumps over the top to the floor, but Genius hands him the scroll and he smashes Hogan in the face with it. Perfect hammers away as Genius prances out of dodge from Beefcake. Back inside, Genius and Perfect work over the champ as the crowd tries to rally. Genius breaks out all his usual mannerisms and soft offense with some good heat. Genius goes for a moonsault off the top, but eats knees. Genius blocks the tag, but Hogan kicks him off and is able to get to Beefcake, who cleans house on both guys, running through all his offense and setting up the sleeper, which he hooks on Perfect to a big pop. Hogan cuts off Genius' save and then ties up the ref as Genius bops Beefcake with a scroll to break the hold. Hogan chases Genius, but he scampers to the back. Perfect then covers, but Hogan charges back and barely makes a save in a good near fall. Beefcake gets a shit pushed in for a bit, mainly from Perfect. Bobby's all over Jim on commentary, which has been fun all night. Hillbilly calls Genius Mr. Limp Wrist himself as he lands some shots in. Beefcake beating lasts for a bit until Perfect drops his head. Brutus boots him in the face. Bobby trashes the ref as Hogan gets the hot tag. The ref doesn't see it, disallows it. It goes back to the double team on Beefcake. Perfect eventually goes to the Perfect Plex, but Hogan breaks it up to a pop. Hogan then gets the tag and wrecks shit in the ring, mowing through both guys. Gets isolated with the Genius, hits him with the boot and leg drop for the win, ending his 27-year title reign. Hogan runs off Mr. Perfect, who just bails on his bud, doesn't give a fuck, just walks off. And then Beefcake puts Genius to sleep, and they skip around the ring, him and Hogan, before he trims up Genius's hair yet again. Hogan poses a Beefcake in the crowd cheers. They like that afterward. So this was pretty paint by numbers. I felt like a bit of a throwback to some of the older MSG Hogan tag matches. Just kind of constant action. Perfect has done great in the role, but he's really, he's hanging in, but time is ticking on this feud and push because it feels like he's stalling a bit now. That said, he hasn't taken a pin yet, so he's still undefeated. Beefcake continues to elevate with Hogan. He's basically a main eventer by default now. And a solid tag. It hit all the beats, but didn't really exceed. It didn't go to the next level, but it was perfectly acceptable. So I went 3 stars on this, Jenny.
I did too. I actually never really have seen that much of Mr. Perfect or really have liked at all what I have seen of him, but I actually thought he was really fun in this match. Trying to think of a way to say it doesn't sound too awful, but you could tell he is well endowed in this in this uniform that he's wearing. I mean, it was like sweatpants level. I'm just like, what? Maybe that's why I enjoyed it. I don't know, but he was bumping around really good. Like I thought he was really fun. The boys, the commentary just killed me, just killing me the whole match, because Bobby has switched to where he's like not outright insulting Hillbilly anymore. He's like making these sort of sly little comments and like about Hillbilly's intelligence and like, oh, people think you're dumb. I don't think you're dumb, but like people say you're dumb.
Yeah.
You know, and they were talking about the scroll and how it was made out of iron or whatever, and then Hillbilly says his grandpappy gave him his iron, what is it, a horseshoe or whatever?
Yeah, horseshoe.
So all of that was just fucking gold. Like, I was dying. I was losing it. And then they're just so disgusted by Genius, Gorilla, and Hillbilly in particular, just like Mr. Lip Wrist, and just constant stuff about him. But you know, that Hulk had the like laziest boot ever, but that seems pretty pretty much on par for him. Yeah, I was impressed with Perfect, and I love the commentary, but I went 3 stars too. What do you think, Scott?
I've never heard anybody in the history of wrestling reviews go, what I've seen of Mr. Perfect's, but man, he would look awesome in sweatpants.
I'm just saying. I mean,
clucking and he's perfectly cucking. All right.
That's why y'all invite me here. Be honest, for this shit take extravaganza that I provide.
He does. If I do feel like though that the orange tights seem to be tighter than some of the others. I don't know.
They're
maybe
super tight, like really super tight.
Maybe he does it on purpose. Maybe the Genius enjoys. I don't know. Anyway, I also gave this 3 stars. Your match time 15:27, so it was good length, a lot of fun. Definitely, I wouldn't say a different pace than the one with Warrior on Saturday Night's Main Event, but obviously being a house show, they could sculpt things a little bit easier and a little bit longer. I think the crowd loved it. I got to be honest, I think the crowd was anticipating this match because I should have mentioned, I was going to mention this earlier, but I feel like before this match, the crowd was kind of shit, which is very rare for MSG in any capacity. Even when there's garbage matches, they're pumped. But I definitely feel like the first 3 matches, they were flat, and I feel like they were waiting for this one. So I think they kind of sat on their hands for the most part and waited for this one, and they were hot for this one. Anytime they hear Real American, they're hot for it. But yeah, the gas on this, the tank on this like winter feud going into Mania season is definitely on E, and I think they're pretty much cooked here, and that's fine. I mean, you need something to fill the gap, and Beefcake definitely is reaching that level. I don't know if he's necessarily main event, but he's definitely in the upper mid card. I think he's past guys like Duggan, and I feel like he's past a couple of other singles babyface guys, maybe even Jake. And I'm not just saying because of association with Hogan. I just think he's over. I don't know if he could sustain a main event on his own, but he's definitely, intercontinental title material, depending what happens over the coming months. But I enjoyed the match a lot. 3 stars and a good way to a good main event to get the crowd into the show, because I definitely feel like the first 3 matches they were kind of flat. The commentating is starting to level out a little bit. This match, they were pretty good. They showed a lot of symmetry. I think they kind of got out of the whatever weird issues they had earlier, kind of avoiding the action to fuck off with each other. But they definitely settled in and had a good run here. So 3 stars, good mid-show main event, got the crowd back into the evening.
All right, and that feels like a nice little spot to take a break about halfway through the show. And it's been an interesting one so far. It's one of those ones that seems to really be on the cusp, but not quite getting over the hump just yet.
I agree.
So we'll see if it does get over their humps. Their lovely lady humps. All right, let's take a break. Lumps? Lovely lady lumps. It's been a while since I heard them. About a minute. All right, let's take a break. When we get back, we will touch on some pop culture from this time period, and we'll finish up the show.
Perfect.
Down Santa Claus Lane. He doesn't care if you're rich or poor. He loves you just the same. Santa knows that we're God's children. That makes everything right.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Place to Be Nation's JT Rosero and Chad Campbell here. We want to let you know that we have over 24 podcasts available on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and PlaceToBeNation.com. We now offer them to you on 2 great feeds. On the Place to Be Nation Wrestling feed, we dive into topics running the gamut from today's WWE to the glory days of yesteryear and the ins and outs of the territory days. In addition to our full-length shows, we also deliver to you special pod blasts on topics old and new.
The Place to Be Nation Pop feed is a veritable treasure trove of great content. Offer tremendous shows covering the land of movies, television, life, comics, and sports, brought to you by the most knowledgeable and insightful folks in the podcast world.
You can find all of these current shows, plus archives of our previous podcasts over the past 8 years as well, by subscribing to our feeds on iTunes. And while there, be sure to rate and leave feedback as well. All of these shows, plus others, available at PlaceToBeNation.com, where we cover pro wrestling, sports, movies, comics, plus in-depth stretch projects and more. Be sure to support our site by using www.PlaceToBeNation.com/Amazon while doing your online shopping. And be sure to join us at our forum at Bigelow34.proboards.com for all sorts of wrestling, sports, and pop culture discussion each and every day, where you can make your voice heard. We also want to thank our friends at Bonehead's Wing Bar, ProWrestlingOnly.com, and TheHistoryOfWrestling.com. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr as well. PlaceToBeNation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Hey, this is Scott Hudson, and you're listening to the Place to Be Podcast with Scott and Justin.
Pack is back, cause I'm mass destruction. Guess who's here? The bad boys of wrestling. Testing competition, win the war, that's the mission. Not no mercy, see the race like the street. If you don't know, you better find out the wolf pack. Here to prove a point, number one, just believe that you don't want to test it with them. I'll be
All right, Nation, we are back talking the February 1990 Madison Square Garden House Show. Myself, Scott Criscola, Jennifer Smith. And before we get back into that, we're going to take a moment, talk to you what's coming up and what's going on here at PlaceToBeNation.com and our podcast feeds over on the PTB Pop feed. The Sarcastic Four are back. The latest episode of the Marvel Age podcast, where they continue to look at roughly 1/3 of the most significant of Marvel's output through the year 1972. On Looking Forward, Looking Back Sports, Cowboy Morissette and Johnny D'Amato look back at the recent MLB season, ahead to the newest NBA season as well. On the weekly Hard Traveling Fanboys, they go off the page, look at the 1974 TV movie Wonder Woman, starring Kathy Lee Crosby of WrestleMania II fame, and Ricardo Montalban. Newest DC4U continues with the Green Lantern month by taking a deep dive into the beginnings of the Four Horsemen: Hal Jordan, Guy Gardner, Jon Stewart, and Kyle Rayner. This week in the NFL, it's weekly as well, of course. Roger and Johnny recap last week's games and preview this upcoming week's as well. And siblings Kevin and Mary host a brother-sister rewatch podcast on episode 24. Episodes 20 and 21 of The Office, Season 3. Great podcast. If you're not listening, check it out, especially if you love The Office. But they're pretty funny anyway, maybe if you're kind of new to The Office or whatever else. But it's one of my favorite podcasts right now. Listen to it regularly. Newest Diamond Conversations. The 4th episode features a one-on-one chat with Executive Vice President and GM of the Fredericksburg Nationals, Nick Hall. Of course, if you really love behind the scenes and inside baseball stuff, this is a podcast for you, Chad B. and Diamond Conversations. Greatest Sitcom of All Time tournament kicks off on Monday, November 25th. That is a week from today, beginning with the play-in round. The 4 matchups per day. Be sure to like our tournament page on Facebook or follow us on Twitter, @PlaceToBeNation, so you won't miss a single poll. And, of course, there will be a preview podcast coming this week as well, running down I heard every matchup is previous, Scott. Is it every matchup? Okay, every single matchup.
Every matchup.
Right down to Sledgehammer.
All of them.
On the PTBN Wrestling feed, the premiere episodes of Body Press Your Luck, PTBN's first ever wrestling trivia game show. Myself and Jordan Duncan welcome in Ryan Everett, Neil Trauma, and Logan Crossland to battle it out. If you think you have what it takes, check out the show. If you want to be one of the competitors, reach out. We'll put you on the list to be on a future installment. Of course, that was a lot of fun. Looking forward to next month's. Latest episode of Main Event, Scott, part 2, that is, of episode 137. You, brother Nate, and Steve Willie go back to 2002 to check out TNA's 20th pay-per-view. Okay. On the newest Wrestling Warzone, me and Chad dive into the Raw Nitro from 2596, and that's a rare double go-home because it was the go-home for In Your House 6 and Super Bowl because of the dog show. So check that out. A new Jenny and the Gems, exploring dirty hidden gems vaults with a look at the Great American Bash Tour from Greensboro in 1988, which I believe both of you were on. Anything you want to mention about that?
Oh, it was a great show. I had
tremendous.
a lot of fun doing it. Yeah. Listen to it.
Yes, it's fantastic.
And one of our newest shows, With This Ring, husband and wife Ryan and Cindy looking at 5 matches from the GWW list, see where they place, and talk about Cindy's personal list as well. And finally, Jenny, you, me, and D'Amato on the newest Extreme 3-Way Dance, continuing our ECW adventure with the much-anticipated Hostile City Showdown. So be sure to check that out because it's always a good time. Subscribe to Hostily, Paul Hostily, Geek and Assessed Hostily. All right, tell us, Jenny, about the Jenny Position, will you?
The Jenny Position is my new podcast feed where you can find Geek and Sassy, Talking Pop, Freak Out Drive-In, telling stories, and a new one that I'm recording very, very, very soon. So check that out. You can find it on all your favorite podcatcher apps.
There you go. So be sure to subscribe to that. It is well worth your downloads. And also, check out PlayStation.com each and every day. We have new voices and fresh takes, bringing you articles on topics in the world of wrestling, sports, and pop culture, including the SmackDown on Fox Report, This Week in WWE with John Crow, Jason's DVD Deep Dive, and Ben's Unpopular Opinion, plus veteran columns like Glenn Butler's weekly Walk Around the Web each and every Wednesday morning. And every Wednesday afternoon, Scott, you and Logan Crossland have your campus hot takes, looking at that week's college football matchups. Mm-hmm. If you're shopping on Amazon, click on the Amazon banner on the right-hand side of the PlayStation homepage, or use PlayStation.com/Amazon to go right there to do your shopping and kick a little bit back to PTBN. And be sure to join in our GWWE Pay-Per-View TV Match Ever project. The ballot is open and available on our Facebook page or at bigolo34.proboards.com. You can submit a ballot anytime between now and December 31st. Scotty, it seems like we never, ever agree. You like the movies, and I like TV. I take things serious, and you take them light. That might be backwards. I go to bed early, and you party all night.
Yes.
Our friends are saying we ain't going to last because I move slowly, or you move slowly, and baby, I'm fast. You like it quiet, and I love to shout. But when we get together, Scotty, this podcast just all works out because it's just a natural fact that we come together because opposites attract. And that sums up our relationship pretty well, I think. The song that is number 1 in the country here tonight in February 1990. And that does bring us into this week's Pop Culture Corner with Scott Criscola.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh, we're going to have to make that. That's going to be a future open after like 600 or something. Who gets to be the animated cat? All right. Yes, Paul Abdul continued to kick ass. Number 1 this week. Of course, this list came out 2 days before, the 17th of February, 1990. Opposites attract, Paul Abdul at number 1. Number 2, Two to Make It Right by Seduction. We're not going to get into that whole thing again.
Oh,
but
God.
We know that.
It's a clusterfuck.
We know that song. But hey, we were right. It took us a while to get there, but we were right. Number 3, the vivacious Janet Jackson with Escapade at number 3. Tremendous song. Number 4, Dangerous by Roxette. Number 5, Janie's Got a Gun by Aerosmith from the awesome Pump album.
A little bit dangerous.
Number 6, What Kind of Man Would I Be by Chicago. Number 7, All or Nothing by Milli Vanilli. Number 8, Downtown Train by Rod Stewart. Number 9, Tell Me Why by Expose. You an Expose fan, Jenny?
Who isn't?
I guess
not.
It
really
Number
depends,
10.
As the seasons change, what she likes.
Seasons change, people change. Number 10, We Can't Go Wrong by the Cover Girls. So there you go. There's your top 10 for this week.
I will say the one of my favorite ever, probably not just even on the show, but all-time TV clips is the Family Guy where Peter does Opposites Attract with the cat, and he's in the cat suit, and they they do the video.
Yes.
Me and Andy used to watch it at least like once a week or say it to each other. I used to have it saved on DVR, that one. I haven't seen it in forever, but that's one of my all-time favorites because he changes the words. Instead of Opposites Attract, he says, because I'm dressed like a cat. It's like the best thing ever.
I do remember that. It is very good. Let us go to the silver screen. You haven't had to do this much, JR. We've been catching weekends where there hasn't been much of the movies, but 5 movies came out on the previous Friday, the 16th of February. We'll begin. This movie didn't make a lot. I have a feeling this is a documentary, but we're going to look anyway. It made $1.39 million. It is called Courage Mountain. I have a feeling this is a documentary, but let's give it a shot.
Just a natural fact. We come together. 'Cause I'm dressed like a cat.
So this one is my all-time favorite.
Absolutely fantastic.
All right, what's the name of this stupid movie? Courage Mountain.
Who cares? It's called Dress Like a Cat. No. It's called Courage Mountain.
It is definitely not a documentary. In 1915, during World War I, Heidi, now 15 years old, still lives on the Swiss Alps with her grandfather. She receives an invitation from Madame Jane Hillary, the headmistress of Brookings School for Girls in Italy. Heidi has a means to go, but she's just received an inheritance from her friend Clara's grandmother. Grandfather wants Heidi to make the most of the opportunity so she'll be able to take care of herself when he's gone. Though initially reluctant, when she learns that sweetheart Peter has joined the army, she accepts the invitation. Starring, any guesses? Who the lead male is in this?
Mike Tyson.
Buddy Rose. No. Oh, God.
Charlie Sheen is the lead
What?
star in this. Starring Charlie Sheen, Leslie Caron, Yorgo Voyagis, Jean Rubes, and Juliette Caton.
Did you say Leslie Nielsen? That would have been pretty good with Charlie Sheen. All right.
Nicholas
Next up, now we'll get some more
Stapleton.
familiar movies.
Charlie Sheen is
Next
Peter,
up.
the boyfriend. And he is not dressed like a cat.
No, he should be, though. All right. Next up is the horror movie. Oh, actually, there are two horror movies. Fucking great. This one made $8 million. Jenny, I believe you know this one. It is called...
Something stupid.
No. Nightbreed.
I do not know that one. No.
Really? Okay. It's pretty good.
Definitely
Sounds
sounds
hot.
like something Trent Williams watches at 2 a.m. But Aaron, here we go. Character name. Maybe I will watch this one. Aaron Boone dreams of Midian, a city strong out of the gate. Aaron Boone and Midian, a city where monsters are accepted. At the request of his girlfriend Lori Winston, Boone is seeing psychotherapist Dr. Philip Decker, who convinces Boone that he committed a series of murders. And he did indeed in the Red Sox 2003 season. Decker is actually a mass serial killer who murdered several families. Decker drugs Boone with an LSD disguised as lithium and orders Boone to turn himself in. Starring Craig Sheffer, Ann Bobby, David Cronenberg. If I'm already down this list and know nobody, then we're in trouble. Yeah, that's about it.
I see a freak out driving in the future for that one.
Tony
I'm
Bluto
interested.
is in it.
Yeah.
Aaron Boone.
It
Aaron
is
Boone and
based
Midian.
on Clive Barker's Nightbreed. So there you go.
Yeah. Yep. Same guy, of course, that did.
Other stupid
That did.
movies.
Why am I blanking? Hellraiser. Okay.
Yes.
Next.
I'd rather talk about the Mets 1990 season than fucking Nightbreed. Come on, what's next?
Next up, we have another horror movie. Made $15.36 million. It is called The Witches.
Why are these movies coming out in February?
I don't know.
A lot of horror movies come out in February.
Why? It's stupid.
Well, you think it would be stupid any month of the year,
Correct.
but I don't know why.
There you go. Ding, ding, ding. Nostradamus. During a vacation with his grandmother Helga in Norway, 8-year-old American boy Luke Eversham is warned about the witches, female demons with a boundless hatred for children, and various methods of destroying or transforming them. Helga tells him that her childhood friend fell victim to a witch and cursed to spend the rest of her life trapped inside a painting. Sounds like Harry Potter to me. Starring Angelica Houston, Jason Fisher, Rowan Atkinson. Is that Mr. Bean?
It sounds like a tremendous horror movie.
Jane Horrocks, Annabelle Brooks, Sookie Smith, Nora
Sookie?
Connolly,
Like from True Blood? Sookie?
Vincent Marzello, Barbara
Sookie.
Hicks.
I've never seen this. I need to watch it.
Oh, another freak out drive.
Yeah.
Come on, Jerry. You got to do at least one of these.
Yeah. I'll
I
do
did.
it.
It's a Rebel
Midian and
Commando.
your fucking... Yeah. Naked Midian
Still in
and
that
your
Nightbreed
fucking
movie, though.
umpire bullying manager. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
By the way, this was adapted from the children's book of the same title by Roald Dahl.
Roald Dahl, who wrote Charlie
So
and
this
the
isn't really a horror. It's a dark fantasy comedy.
I don't know. According to my website, they consider it horror. But anyway. And finally, the last movie of the weekend that made the most money, 20... Oh, actually, two left. This one made $15.53 million, a thriller suspense film titled Revenge.
First thing that comes up in Wikipedia is revenge porn. Hang on. 1990.
Mr.
What have
Perfect
you been
says his
searching for?
On Wikipedia, that's where I get my porn. Yep, I check it
Yep.
out there.
Shit.
Michael
Mr. Perfect
J.
says it's-
Cochran is a U.S. Navy aviator returning after 12 years in the service. receives a matched pair of Beretta shotguns and an invitation from his wealthy friend Tiburon Tibby Mendez to spend time at his hacienda in Mexico. Tibby's a powerful crime boss constantly surrounded by bodyguards. In Mexico, Cochran meets Tibby's beautiful young wife, Mira, who lives in lavish surroundings but is unhappy because her much older husband does not want children, feeling pregnancy would spoil her looks. Starring Kevin Costner, Anthony Quinn, Madeline Stowe, Tomas Milian, Joaquin Martinez, John Leguizamo, Joe Santos.
John Leguizamo, early in his career.
What is revenge porn?
Really?
Great question.
You don't know?
No, I really don't know.
So it's the distribution of sexually explicit images or videos of individuals without their permission. I actually saw something that they were trying to change I forgot who it was to try to change the definition of it, because it's not really revenge porn. It's more like you're not making the porn. You're so it'd be like if Scott had a sex tape or some dick pics out there, and whoever he sent them to, he broke her heart, and then she posted them. That's considered
Seth Rollins?
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, kind of. It's like blackmail, basically. I'm going to release these.
Like Ricochet.
Yes, like Ricochet. But it's not really revenge porn, because when you think revenge porn, you think, you broke up with me, I'm going to go bang your best friend and film it. That's revenge porn.
It's just porn. It's that's just revenge, period.
Yeah. So actually, I saw something recently on Twitter. It was, I forget who wrote the story about trying to change the connotation of the term revenge porn.
Interesting.
There you go. Well, you should get a specialist on it. Who's any position special on it?
Yeah.
After school special.
When revenge porn goes too far. And Tim would be all over that. Number one.
Yeah, he would.
Number one for the weekend, a comedy. All right, JR, finally in your wheelhouse.
Thank you.
$20.438 million. Madhouse.
All right. I did not see that. Is it one word or two? There's a bunch of films called Madhouse. Mark Bannister, a stockbroker, and wife Jessie, a TV reporter anchorwoman, are a successful yuppie couple with idyllic California life aside from a toilet with a faulty handle. It is interrupted when both of them find out that Mark's timid cousin Fred and his pregnant wife Bernice are flying in from New Jersey to visit that day. The first day is slightly chaotic because of the cat Scruffy Bannister. Mark gives them $300 to spend in the city and grant the couple some alone time. When they're interrupted with Jessie's gold digger sister Claudia arrives, demanding hospitality. And on from there, starring John Larroquette, Kirstie Alley. Wow, this is a hot pair. John Deal, wow. Jessica Lundy, Dennis Miller, Wayne Tippett, Deborah Otto. Larroquette and Alley, that's like a early 90s sitcom dream team right there.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So, all right. So there's the movies that came out that weekend. A look at the top 10 movies money-wise that weekend. At number 10, Steel Magnolias. Doing pretty well. Number 9, The Little Mermaid. Obviously not as good as
the sea.
Yeah,
under the sea, man.
I think the Place to Be Nation version of Little Mermaid would probably make more money. Better than this.
Kiss that girl.
At number 8,
it wasn't
Glory.
You, Ariel.
At number 7,
Shaggy.
God. At number 7,
that
Stella.
Number bombastic.
At number 6, Nightbreed made a big amount of money that weekend. Number 5, Born on the 4th of July. Number 4, Madhouse. Number 3, Revenge porn, finished number 3. Number 2, little Steven Seagal action, Hard to Kill. And at number 1 for the weekend was Driving Miss Daisy. So there you go. All right, quick check of sports on this Monday in the NBA. Let's see, waiting for this to load. 6 games on tap. None of the locals, nobody we care about play. Although after we had the 60-something point performance by Karl Malone, he dropped 34, and Utah beat the Sixers. Same teams in first place: the Knicks, Pistons, Jazz, and Lakers. From our last report. In hockey, I don't believe any of our locals played. Let's see. Well, the Rangers won in overtime. They must have. Wait a minute. So there must have been a doubleheader that day because the Rangers were home. They beat the Devils 4-3 in overtime. So the Devils must have played. The Rangers must have played during the day.
Right.
They must have quickened this place up and put the ring up for the. Unless this was the Met. Nah, I don't think. Wait, was this President's Day?
You're asking a lot of me right now. The top of my head. What was the date of this thing?
February 17th. Because I'm thinking.
I'm President's Day. I don't know. Yeah, sure.
You think it was well?
Well, did they have President's Day back then? Didn't they have Lincoln's Day and Washington's birthday?
Okay, maybe it was Lincoln's Day.
No, this is a Saturday, so it wouldn't have been President's Day. It might have been President's Day weekend.
Oh yeah, all right. So no. So it must have been a double
Is there
header.
a hockeyreference.com?
Yeah, that's what I'm on.
Oh well, it doesn't say the time of the game.
They had like a face-off. Let's take a look.
Sometimes it says the time of the game in there.
Yeah, no, sometimes it does. No, you're right. Sometimes it does. February 19th, Arena, Madison Square Garden. Was there a start time? No, there's not.
Okay.
No. So I'm going to assume this was during the day, and I'm going to say the wrestling was probably at night. Because they usually didn't do matinees at the Garden. Garden usually was always at night. So I'm going to assume the Rangers.
It's a Saturday, yeah. Probably at night.
Yeah, so I'm going to assume the Rangers are playing at noon. In any event, they beat the Devils 4-3 in overtime earlier in the day in that building. Same teams in first place that we saw earlier from our last show, the Blackhawks, Flames, Bruins, and the Rangers and Islanders are tied in the Patrick. And that is it for your Pop Culture Corner. Back to the aforementioned Garden, JR.
All right. Where are we? Sean Mooney is backstage with Powers of Pain and Mr. Fuji. He talked down to Jim Duggan and the Rockers, saying they're in trouble. Barbarian says they love war, and if they want Fuji, they have to go through the Powers of Pain first. Warlord says they'll only be pain tonight. There's clearly a reason that the Powers of Pain have never talked, really. Find out here tonight. Sean Mooney's in with the Rockers and Jim Duggan, who has shades and tassels on. Janetti is back from the hospital. Things will be even this time. Duggan says the three of them are angry. We'll see how bad they are against someone their own size. If Fuji wants to pull out a foreign object, his board will be ready. And I think that's a record for a few promos right there, too. Usually we get at least 4 in the mid-break of the interview session, but unconventional card. So back to the ring for our first match out of the break as Bad News Brown takes on Jumpin' Jim Brunzell. And I do have a note here. This is Jim Brunzell subbing for Superfly Jimmy Snuka, who I believe, yes. I didn't mention it, but I saw that Herb had mentioned Snuka was pulled off an injury at that Toronto house show he went to, so it seemed like he maybe was a little dinged up. So he is replaced here, scraping the barrel. The Bees are long dead, Brunzell hanging around. Typical post-intermission snoozer on tap, but it could be worse, I guess, when you look at the roster, really, of where we're at. Brunzell dodges an attack at the bell, gets a sunset flip for 2, parlays that to a little flurry. Brunzell runs Bad News to the floor twice as he stays hot to open things up. Brown finally slugs him slugs him down, goes into his punch, kick, and claw offense. Brunzell gets a flash cover on a crossbody, but Brown goes right back on him. We get talk of Heenan once recruiting Bad News Brown for the family. Brunzell survives, gets 2 on a sunset flip, and chokes away. As Gorilla says Brunzell is in great shape. Brunzell gets 2 on a leg drop, gets a front chancery, which the crowd doesn't seem to appreciate. Brown, sorry, I just read something that cracked me up. Brown slugs back into control as meanders along. Brunzell recovers, now starts working the wrist and hand. Brown misses a fist drop, and Gorilla says he looks lethargic tonight. Brunzell keeps working the hand, and then things spill outside where Brunzell shoots Brown into the barricade. Brown turns things by running Brunzell into the post and clubs away. He's beating on Brunzell in the ring and just feels endless at this point. Brunzell lands a shot, goes to a spinning toe hold, but Bad News kicks him to the floor. The announcers are talking about everything they can possibly fucking think of except this match. Just Bad News chokes Brunzell with the mic cord. Gorilla says Bad News has mastered the martial arts, but I haven't seen it. He just keeps landing thrusts to the throat. He knows about as many martial arts as fucking Slipknot. Brunzell's hanging on, but runs Bad News into the buckle, lands some strikes. Brunzell lands a beauty of a drop kick. Bad News gets to the ropes during the cover. Brunzell gets a sleeper, awkwardly shoves Bad News to the corner, and rolls him up for 2. Brunzell misses a charge to the corner, and Bad News hits the blaster for the win. Finally, that went on and on and on and on. I will give credit, though. It was an unorthodox style, a lot of ebb and flow. The offense was bland, though, and awkward. The crowd just did not care. Brunzell showed up, but it just wasn't happening. Structure bumps it a bit. It was mostly boring. I went 1.5 stars out of respect that they worked as hard as they did, but it just didn't click. Scott, what did you have for this one?
Yeah, this definitely went too long. 14:39. I don't think we rarely ever see Bad News Brown do 14-minute matches. That's dreadful. I gave it a. My sheet reset. The match was dreadful. I mean, knowing that it was a backup, a backup plan for Snuka not being there, you would have thought they'd have cut this thing down. I think it's funny that Gorilla, who's been fat shaming all night, is complimenting us all on the greatness of Jim Brunzell's fucking physique. I mean, it was fine for what it was, but it was way too long. Obviously, Bad News Brown is not conducive right now to 15-minute matches, so I don't know why they kept it 15 minutes, but I don't think there's any reference of Piper. yet. They mentioned Piper later in the show, but not anything to do with Bad News, so I don't know what the situation with that is. I don't know what's been mentioned on the Cindy's or not after what happened at the Rumble. But, yeah, considering this was a pinch-hitting role, it wasn't horrible, but it shouldn't have been 15 and a half minutes. It was
long,
pretty...
Yeah.
It was really long.
I think this card is short, too, though, because there's only 7 matches, so they clearly were running a little thin on this one. You mentioned there were 2 other shows, right, or whatever else was going on.
Right.
So,
Yep.
I mean, they're stretching it thin, obviously, and they're doing 2 tags, right? They could have broken up either of these tags. So that's what happens when then you end up with Tito and Buddy Rose going 15, this going 16. You know, it's like that. It trickles down like this. And just, I mean, I guess Brunzell probably was better than if Snuka would have been in that match. Because Snuka, Bad News for 15 would have been probably even worse, I think. But, yeah, Brunzell at least tries.
Yeah, and I think the problem here is, and we've talked about this before, whenever the Garden has Hogan, they know that Hogan will fill the house and they can kind of take a risk and put some trash around them because they know people are going to show up anyway. Excuse me. So they need to send Warrior and Demolition and all these other guys to East Lansing and to Huntington, West Virginia to fill those houses. It's MSG. Stick Hogan there and you could put fucking midgets for the rest of the card and they'd be fine because they already made the money on it. So that I can understand. Half star here, Jenny. Probably another one that went longer than it needed to.
Yes, definitely longer than it needed to, but I thought that Brunzell looked like his trunks looked like he had been like murdering people and then burying them because it looks bloodstained and then like dirt stained. I'm like, did you just you know
killed Brian Blair for us all.
Are you a grave digger or like what is happening? I say that because I was trying to like think of things to say about this match because it kind of sucked. Sorry about it, Peter Winston, because I know he loves Bad News Brown. But there was some great commentary that had me still cracking up. And Gorilla was threatening Bobby with not being there next month because Bobby's insisting that he's the host of the show. And Gorilla's like, don't count on being here next month. And then Hillbilly tells Bobby, you say some of the stupidest things. And it's just this constant bickering that I just enjoyed it. And like I said, I'm dumb and I count for things like that. So I gave it 2 stars for just my enjoyment of those boys in the booth. And imagining Brunzell murdering some hapless victim and burying their body. You're welcome.
After we get a WrestleMania 6 ticket push, it is dream match time.
Oh, I knew it.
I stood erect for this match.
Dream match. Yes.
You look like perfect right now.
I was engorged as the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, takes on the African Dream, Akeem. 1990 me and 2019 me have the same reaction when these guys came to the ring. Akeem dances out as a Jive Soul Bro with Slick by his side. Hillbilly calls Slick a useless manager. Bobby agrees, but he spins it like he meant Sapphire. He's the best. Like, classic Bobby. Dusty and Sapphire chug out next, and everyone's now dancing to his theme, Fired Up, which is pretty funny. Like seeing Akeem and Slick dancing to Dusty's theme. They have to dance, no matter what. We get some standing around, and then Sapphire shoves Slick to the floor to get underway. Dusty works the arm, lands some elbows, leading to Akeem juking around and just collapsing. We follow that with some boxing from the two as Dusty's dodging jabs and landing an elbow. Bobby thinks there's something in that pad and has been for years. Akeem gets tangled in the ropes, but Dust goes across the ring and presses the rope down so he can't get freed. The ref finally breaks him free, and Akeem levels Dusty and drops an elbow for 2. Akeem clubs away and goes to a nerve hold as the crowd has completely died. Bobby says Sapphire looks like a cheerleader for Weight Watchers. Akeem alternates between kicks and the nerve hold as Jim and Bobby argue about managers. Dusty breaks the hold and slugs away in the corner, but Akeem cuts him back down and goes slowly to work with some strikes and a bear hug. Dusty punches free and cuts Akeem down. Slick gets on the apron, but Sapphire yanks him down, and Bobby says he should go get her and choke her. Akeem comes out and grabs Sapphire by the hair, but Dusty makes a save. Akeem holds Dusty, and Slick tries a high knee, but Dusty moves and he hits Akeem. Dusty rolls inside and gets the count-out win. Dusty fends off Akeem and then smacks Slick as he tries to go after Sapphire. Sluggish and bland, too many rest holds and strikes. The comedy was funny. It was short. I loved them both. The finish is silly, but who cares? Dusty moves on. 1.5 stars in your program, but 5 stars in your heart. Dusty Rhodes versus Hakeem from February of 1990. Jennifer.
5 stars in your heart. Agreed. I love Sapphire. I love Dusty so much. I mean, how could you not? They're delightful. Yeah, I mean, but it's just all a bunch of elbows and fat guys, right? In the ring, but Dusty does what he does. Although Bobby calls Rhodes is an illiterate hick, and it says he'll knock the polka dots right off of that side. 2 stars, Scott.
I wanna cook Hakeem. Yeah.
This feels like
I gave
ECW.
this more stars than. I gave it 2 stars. I actually gave it more stars than he gave it. I thought this match was a lot of fun, actually, because it's Dusty, and he could turn chicken shit into chicken salad, whatever that fucking terminology is.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. It's fucking great. Love Hakeem, love Dusty, love Sapphire. Jared, do you think they made those because I have it saved somewhere. The when Dusty and Sapphire did the awesome catalog. You think that was later in the year? It's probably later in the year. Probably after WrestleMania. I'll have to dig that up. I used it for Graham's show when he called it the Ultimate Warrior Suck Up.
Suck up,
baby. So I'll have to find that because that's pretty awesome. Yeah. This match is a lot of fun because it's Dusty. The commentary was actually great. It actually fit with the match. JR's over there with his fucking Mr. Perfect pants on. Yeah, it was great. Dusty hasn't been. I think this might be maybe his first or only second appearance at the Garden since he's been back. So very rare appearance for Dusty at the Garden. Of course, he had epic encounters with Superstar Billy Graham in 77, 78. So yeah, a lot of fun. No Boss Man appearance, so we'll work more on that as time progresses. But enjoyed this match quite a bit. And your length was how long did JR how many Blue Chews? 9 minutes and 27 seconds of Blue Chews.
I can tell you what my length was during this match.
9.27 Chews. 10 Blue Chews.
We got an Ultimate Warrior Suck Club.
There you go. Yeah, Sapphire, come over here, baby. Anyway.
All right. Fink runs down the card for next Jenny, all right? Yeah. All right. Fink runs down the card for next month, and then we get to our last match of the night. The Rockers teaming with Hacksaw Jim Duggan, taking on the Powers of Pain and Mr. Fuji. Time for our last match. It's a spin-off of that great tag bout we had last month. Powers of Pain still hanging on, their little revival push as Fuji again steps in the ring alongside them. Rockers and Duggan fly to the ring to a pop and clean house. We slowly ease into things, starting off with Michaels and Warlord. Warlord starts hot by using his power to chuck Shawn around. Shawn squirms and then gets an assist from Duggan, gets a forward roll into a flurry of punches. Things break down, and the Rockers end up with Powers of Pain in a sunset flip position, and Duggan mows them both down. The pop get cleared out again as we reset. Duggan and Barbarian get us going. Duggan clubs away and works the arm as Bobby mocks his eyes. That pisses off Hillbilly. Marty comes in and works the arm until he tags Warlord. Marty grabs a front facelock on him as soon as he enters. Marty stays in control and tags Shawn, who gets an assist from Hacksaw and a crossbody off the top for 2. Things finally turn as Shawn gets waxed by Barbarian on the apron and then knocked to the floor. Barbarian runs him to the post, and then Warlord beats on him in the ring, dropping him with a nice delayed press slam. Fuji lands his shots as usual, as Bobby says Fuji will own the apple someday. Gorilla says he could end up in the river. This is a retort. Fuji hangs in there for a few and then picks apart Shawn methodically. Warlord comes in and works the back, and Barbarian does the same. Hits a shoulder breaker and then heads up top. It comes up empty. Bobby says he likes Barbarian in a sly way, which I thought was a nice little foreshadowing. Duggan gets the hot tag. He runs through both Powers of Pain to a big pop, leveling them with clotheslines, getting a near fall. Duggan gets trapped in the corner, triple teamed until Barbarian goes to the nerve hold. Bobby again compliments Barbarian, says with the right direction he could go places. Warlord pounds away, but Duggan gets a crossbody for 2. Duggan dodges an elbow and tags Marty, who slugs away and gets 2 on a dropkick. He keeps unloading, and then him and Shawn hit double team axes off the top. Warlord grabs Marty and tags Fuji, who lands his thrust, but Marty punches him back until Barbarian comes in and cuts down the Rockers. Fuji takes out his Gorilla Call 6 pounds assault, lines up Marty, but Duggan smashes him with a 2x4, and Marty covers for the win. Fun 6-man tag, but it was definitely behind that tag from January. That was a classic. This was more antics baked around the good heat segment on Shawn. Once again, Fuji cost his team by getting in the ring, just like he did at WrestleMania. Nice revenge for the Rockers off this little mini feud, and a fine use of Duggan as well. 3 stars, and it's just nice, Scott, to see like the Rockers win matches like this.
Definitely when they're dictating the pace. Your main event total 1638. And I gave this sucker 3 stars. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Even Duggan I thought the interview while he had the do-rag was pretty fucking funny. Or when he had like the bandana on earlier. Ton of fun. Powers of Pain probably on their last legs. Probably at the end of the line. The Rockers, on the other hand, I think you got the feeling, at least, that the Rockers were definitely due for what could be a year that they win the world titles. I definitely feel like they've gotten to that point. And this match shows that, having them on last. Crowd was really into it. I did say earlier that I think Beefcake is maybe the highest mid-card guy on the babyface side. I think he's past Duggan, but Duggan's not too far behind. This is probably the last time Fuji wrestles. I imagine. I don't think he. I
don't know.
I don't think we see him. Maybe they did more house shows.
He may do a random house show thing here or there.
Yeah, maybe. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah,
maybe not on camera. Yeah, maybe. Obviously, this is like the end of the line for Powers of Pain, because we'll see different things from them in the coming months. But a fun main event, and considering we thought the show was going to be a bowl circler, or as we call it here, a Sheriff Pete, it wasn't that bad. And Jenny, not a bad way to end the evening.
Have you seen Sapphire, baby? No, I haven't, Dust, but we're all still looking for her.
Don't fall off the subway.
Oh, Hacksaw. I thought Hacksaw looked like the special cousin of the Rockers.
That is the greatest description of Hacksaw Duggan I've ever heard.
During the promo, he was like all like jumping around behind them in the background, just all freaking out. I'm like, what the fuck is he doing back there? And but anyway, I did like this match. I went 3 stars on it. And when Fuji went for the cocaine or whatever in his tights to throw in one of them's eyes, I was like, what the fuck is he doing? Is he getting a hit right in the middle of this fucking match? But anyway, more of the Gorilla and Bobby stuff for me, although they did try to focus on the match a little bit more, but they still got their little shots in. And yeah, it was fun. A good way to close out the show.
It's a solid main event. All right, Sean Mooney is with Rick Martel. He's facing Roddy Piper next month. We find out. We get clips from Piper talking shit on the model, calls him a Chester in the trench coat, and questions Martel's confidence. Martel brags on his confidence in his promo. His arrogance says Piper can get rowdy, but Martel will show him he's not just another pretty face. Martel can fight, but fight with style. Sean Mooney's own Mr. Perfect and the Genius. We get some comments from the Ultimate Warrior. He says Perfect is riding the high too long. He smells indifference and change. Warrior has a destiny to fulfill, and his Warriors only ask for victory. He promises to do what Hulk Hogan can't do, and that is pin and defeat Mr. Perfect clean. Perfect angrily shoots down that prediction as his Warrior has met his ultimate match. Warrior may have more power and strength in millions of Warriors, but Perfect is the greatest wrestler of modern and all time. This is the ultimate challenge of the IC belt, and people get perfection at its best. Hogan couldn't beat him in NSG, and will never do it, and neither will Warrior. I thought Perfect was awesome here. I thought this was a tremendous promo from him.
I agree.
Yeah, me too.
Definitely.
All right. Time for some awards, because Gorilla, Bobby, and Hibley wrap things up, plug our next show, and we are out. So let's start things off here with our match of the night, and I went with the Hogan and the Beefcake tag.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean both. The 6-man tag at the end of the night was good, but yeah, no, Hogan and Beefcake definitely.
All right, the Cousin Jr., the worst match. I went with Bad News and Brunzell.
Red Rooster for me.
Oh, that opener was rough, but I'm gonna go with No, I liked Rooster Martel. Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Bad News of Brunzell.
All right, the Andre the Giant for the MVP of the night. I went with Mr. Perfect. I thought he was great in the tag match. He had the big dick on display, and of course the promo at the end was excellent.
Bobby Heenan was the MVP. His big dick was on display as well. I loved him so much.
Scott?
Hillbilly's dick was on display. No. I'm going to go with Perfect as well. I mean, looked great in the match. Killer promo. Took 15 blue chews before the promo, before the match, clearly too. Hot. And he was killer tonight. He was killer. He's in for a big 1990. You could tell. Another guy whose ripcord got pulled.
Should we add a new award from now on? The Blue Chew Award of the night. Who's got the best package on this one?
The Blue Chew Award.
Please.
Who's tightest in the tights?
The Sandy Beach Award for the worst of the night. I feel bad doing this because I know he's great. He just wasn't on this night, and that is Buddy Rose.
Oof. Rough.
I had him and also Red Rooster.
Okay, pick one.
All right, Buddy Rose.
Nice. Scott?
Oh, yeah. No, definitely. Buddy Rose.
All right, best moment of the night, I went with Beefcake cutting Genius's hair. I thought that got the biggest pop and was kind of a double payoff to the Rumble there.
Dusty and Sapphire dancing in the ring.
Okay, Scott?
According to Jenny, Perfect was popping more ways than one.
I didn't think y'all would allow me to put Mr. Perfect's dick as best moment. So. I mean, if I can change my answer, I will.
Best moment, him just standing there. No, yeah, Dusty and Sapphire, just because they're great. Although the end of the Hogan Beefcake match is pretty good too. But yeah, no, Dusty and Sapphire.
All right, the Warrior Award for the most juiced up on the night, I went with the Warlord.
Yes, Powers of Pain. I don't know which is which, but both them.
Warlord's definitely bigger.
Yeah. Who else? Somebody else tonight looked particularly juiced. Who am I thinking? I'll go with Warlord. He was looking pretty juiced. Is that the first time for him?
No.
No, we gave it to him at the Rumble.
Yeah, he's won a couple times.
Yeah, he's won a couple times. He won it back in Survivor. He's won it at all the pay-per-views apparently.
All right, that's where it really stands out in that crystal clear quality. All right, the Rooster Award for the worst hair of the night. I did not go Red Rooster. I went Buddy Rose with whatever the fuck that thing he's got going on in his head. It looks like he touched those like static balls and his hair went up in the air. It's just, the whole thing is a fucking disaster. Yes. He's got going on.
Yeah,
no,
he looks Dutch.
It's Red Rooster.
So
I knew she was gonna say that.
What do you guys?
I'll go Buddy Rose. His hair looked awful. It looked like a fucking Dutch
Y'all
kid.
are insane. Insane. Why?
Because that's Rooster's hair. It's his gimmick. It's not like it's not like it's worse for another guy because like Buddy Rose's hair is his real hair. Like this is what he's walking around with. You know what I mean? It's like it's worse. It's like Red Rooster's going and getting the red dye out when he gets home and combing it down. You know.
You don't know that.
I do know it. I lived it.
He might.
He lives
keep
in my
it
basement
all the time.
All right.
He had the buddy.
I said all right.
I said good day.
I said good day, sir.
All right, final grade on the shit show. Honestly, it wasn't as bad as it wasn't as bad as it felt in the moment, but it wasn't good, and it kind of ends our streak because 1990 has been really hot so far. But this wasn't a lot to get excited about. We peaked at 3 stars, 2 of the matches, which to me felt a little disappointing given the talent. I do think the pieces were here. Like this could have been better. Like there's no reason Tito and Buddy Rose couldn't have been better. There's no reason Rooster Martel couldn't have been better. There's no reason that the tag and the 6-man couldn't be. Like there's a lot of potential here. It just didn't click. And then we get stuff like that long bad news match, and just the card just felt mismanaged. So I went 4 out of 10 on this one. The Bret Hart special.
You know, as much as I loved the commentary, I can still only give it about 5 out of 10. I feel like this is one of the shows. Like I wish that people would watch it, but don't watch it. Just listen to it. Like just put it on where you can hear what's going on, but you don't have to watch any of it. Right. Just do that. That's how I would suggest you do it.
I mean, 2 3-star matches can't be ignored. particularly for a show that we all thought was going to circle the bowl very quickly. I'm gonna give it a 5. I think it was kind of down the middle. I thought the two matches were the 3 stars were good. Dusty and Akeem were great, but the opener sucked. The Bad News match was too long. Rooster and Martel could have been better. So I'd say it's right down the middle, 5, just like Jenny.
All right, that'll do it. This one is in the books here tonight. The February 1990 house show is done. We're creeping close to WrestleMania, which will be here before you know it. But before that, we'll be back, Scott, in 3 weeks' time, December 9th, with the main event special, Randy Savage versus Hulk Hogan, the Mike Tyson episode. Peter Winston, of course, will be here, as usual, for our Saturday main event type shows. But yeah, we do have a few weeks off, so everyone enjoy everything else on PlayStation Nation, including, Scott, what do you got coming up?
I have a busy week ahead. Thursday is the next episode of Main Event. We will be joined by a gentleman whose show you were just on recently, JR, and that is BZ himself, good old row 1, seat 1, Mr. Ben Zanni will be joining us Thursday on Main Event because he's the first guy that I know that actually went to an AEW Dynamite taping. Steve Willie went to a pay-per-view, but he went to a taping. So he's going to join us on Thursday this week when we tape, and it'll air Friday morning. And we will preview the big weekend of NXT TakeOver War Games and Sunday Survivor Series. Speaking of, you and I, Mrs. Smith, will be very busy this weekend. We've got the NXT TakeOver recap on Saturday night with the same you, me, Mr. Capel, and the great Nate Milton. We'll recap TakeOver, and then we will be on with Nate's Chain Reaction Pod on Sunday night with that large crew to recap Survivor Series. So a very busy few days at Place to Be Nation for the 2 big shows in Chicago. So State of the Wrestling feed, plenty coming.
All right. So on the Jenny position, you can hear the well, I wasn't going to do this, but I think I might. I'm going to record a new show, and I'll say it just because it involves you guys, but we're going to be going through the entire MCU in a podcast that has had many names. A journey through infinity, I think, is what we settled on. So you and me and Tim Capel are going to watch all the MCU movies and review them. So, Justin, this is your first time watching them all. So that was sort of like that, and the inspiration of having Disney Plus, which with having all the movies right there with you.
Most of them.
Really just, most of them. All the ones that matter anyway.
Except Incredible Hulk.
Well, like I said, but so that was sort of the inspiration for that pod. So we'll be recording that very soon, and hopefully you can hear it very, very soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, looking forward to that. Obviously, Scott, you and I on the Halloween episode talked about how I did all the Netflix Marvel shows and went through all those. And the next, obviously, iteration was I was just kind of waiting for this Disney Plus to hit, so all the movies would be easily available to me. I've never seen any of them in this. I've seen like some of the ones prior to this, but from the actual MCU proper that started Iron Man and ran through whatever the fuck is the newest one, I have not seen any of those. So I am looking forward. I've already watched a couple, so I'm looking forward to talking about them with you guys, who will be schooling me, I'm sure, and can't wait.
Mm-hmm. It'll be fun, and I already have a deeper appreciation of Tony Stark than I already did, which was immense anyway. So
I agree,
quite deep. All right, so for me, I don't think I have too much more coming, except next Monday I will be back on this feed with a new Extreme 3-Way Dance. Jenny, you, me, and D'Amato will be looking at the fallout from Hostile City Showdown, so be sure to check that out. And I just will say, stay tuned, because there's so much coming on this wrestling feed over the next few weeks into December and beyond. I mean, we're just loaded right now. We got new shows coming. We're really settling into a nice schedule. We have some great hosts, a lot of fresh voices, and a lot of excitement going on in this feud. So, feud.
Well, it's feud.
It's feud and feud. Both hot. So anyway, keep your eyes and ears peeled. Thank you for your support as always. PlaceMation.com, Facebook.com/PlaceMation, place number 2BNation on Twitter. Support us, listen to us, and provide your feedback as always. For Jenny and Scott, I'm Justin Brown. Talk to you in a few weeks. Bye.
Dream match, Hillbilly versus Heenan. Tell me that.
So whoop-de-doo.
And Dickory Dock, don't forget to hang up your sock, 'cause just exactly at 12 o'clock he'll be coming down the chimney down. He'll have a big fat pack upon his back, and lots of goodies for you and for me. So leave a peppermint stick for old Saint Nick hanging on a Christmas tree. It's the holiday season, so whoop-dee-doo. And Dickory Dock, don't forget to hang up your sock, 'cause just exactly at 12 o'clock he'll be coming down the chimney, coming down the chimney, coming down the chimney down. Happy holiday, happy holiday, happy holiday, while the merry bells keep ringing. Happy holiday to